Have you ever wondered how to get your dog to stop barking? Have you ever wondered how to get Brian P. to be quiet and not sing throughout this show? I have. And I think we may have found the answer of someone who can help us, and that would be the inestimable, which is very hard to say.
It's very hard to say. I'm very proud of you. And you know what? You rocked it. I think our guest would be equally proud, so we've got to find out.
Inestimable. Martin Deely. So, hello, Martin. You are a world-renowned dog trainer, having just congratulated myself.
Yes, you did very well on inestimable, but you couldn't handle renowned?
Renowned. So, welcome, Martin, to the Annie G and Brian P show. And we want to know how we can keep we want to know how to stop dogs barking.
Well, that's a lot easier than Brian, that's for sure.
Well,
I can tell you that. And I must look up this inestimable, whatever it is, in Wikipedia.
No, that's inexorable. That's me.
Oh, good, Brian. You know, it's quite fascinating that we want dogs to bark when somebody comes to the door, but then we want them to be quiet. We want them to bark if there's an intruder or someone they're not too sure about, and then we want them to be quiet. And really, we don't spend any time actually teaching them that. There are some dogs, of course, which just love to bark, like Brian, and they're just born for that. Unfortunately, you know, Shelties particularly, some of the little terriers, and well, it's always a problem because if you get a little bit upset with them, you're telling them to be quiet, and you're shouting and things like that, they may think you're joining in, and if you try and do it quietly and say, "Now, come on, be good." They think you're praising them, and they carry on even some more, and they feel as though they've got to take lead. So it's not an easy one to do with certain dogs, and it's easy to create a bad habit. So there's a lot of things you can do, though, Annie.
Well, good, because I'm all ears, if you'll pardon the pun, because we actually have this problem with one of our dogs, the German Shepherd. But I swear to God, Martin, when I'm around, and when I mean around, I don't mean like 3 feet away or something, but, you know, in a different room in the house, she won't be outside barking. If my husband is home, she will. It's like she knows I don't want her to bark, and it doesn't matter what he does, she won't be quiet for him.
That's right. And in fact, dogs do behave in different situations and with different people present. There is no doubt about that at all. They know that some of them will like it, or some of them will even reward them for it, even if, for example, you don't think you're rewarding them. It's almost like a negative attention that they're getting. And some dogs do it just, what shall I say, to be part of the party. And they've been rewarded because others have come up and said hello to them, and they've been wagging their tail and barking and bouncing off the door and things like that, and the guests come and say, "Oh, we don't mind, thank you very much," and they reward them. And it's important, I think, from the very early age. Let me just say this. I'm terrible on barking. I've had kennels in England, and I have dogs that come in for training here, and the slightest bark, the slightest noise, if it's for no reason, I'm quickly asking them to be quiet. And I'm doing something to stop it. In England, if a dog makes a noise in a hunting dog competition, you are out. And so I'm very sensitive to noise, even a little whine or a squeak. I'm looking, and you've got to determine why they're doing it. You know, is there an intruder, or is it just to get attention, or is it just to bark at the world? Thank you very much. Or is it because they're not getting enough exercise, and therefore their brain isn't, if you like, exercised as well? So you get to know the dogs, and some dogs are just notorious barkers. Some dogs are notorious whiners. And German Shepherds can be that, and German Pointers can be that. And you've just got to get to know your dog on what actually switches them on and off. But there's so many things you can do. You can practice. You can teach them to speak, if you like, to bark on command, and then teach them to be quiet. You can get someone to go to the doorbell, ring it. You go to the door, the dog barks, of course. You put them on a place, you ask them to be quiet, you sit them there, then you open the door, and then you reward them for doing the right kind of things. But, you know, so many times we let dogs out into our yard and they run the fence barking, and there's nothing we can do about it. And all it is very, very self-rewarding. So you know, you've got to look at this and just decide what is happening, why it's happening, and what you want to achieve.
So what do you think about some of these products that are out there? The two I'm thinking about, well, there's three actually. One emits a high-pitched noise. Mm-hmm. The other gives out a scent. You know, citronella is usually used, which is non-toxic. And the most drastic of all is the electric shock collar, which I'm thinking of ordering for Brian.
How dare you say drastic? That was such a terrible word with the electric collar. It's not drastic.
Well, she's fitting me for one right now, Martin, so I'm glad to hear it's not as...
I'm telling you, I think we should actually have a remote control for you so we can do it purposely. But no, you're quite right. I have found that the high frequency works occasionally, and it depends on the dogs. I did use it occasionally in my kennels in England. The citronella one I hate with a vengeance, and that's just me because I don't know about you, but blasting citronella in front of a dog's face, that strong smell when they've got such a high sense of scent, just concerns me. And being a hunting dog man again, I want them to use their noses. I don't want to get this kind of lemon citronella blasting all over. And the other thing is, I once had one put on me as part of a demonstration, and by the time they'd finished blasting me with this citronella, my neck was just so red and sore, it wasn't true. Because I had like an allergy reaction to it, I suppose. But no, those two, they can work. I've known dogs who will put the citronella collar on the dog, and they will bark and then put their head to one side. Bark, put their head to one side until it goes empty, and then they'll carry on. They learn what to do.
That's true. I'd forgotten that it empties out.
The electronic collar is good, and there are some extremely good ones out there. And you set it at the level which just interrupts the barking. So there is a light aversive there. You don't put it on the highest level and blast them at all. So it's not drastic. You put it on a level which interrupts them. And it's like us, I suppose. You know, if every time Brian talked, he had a sore throat or he had a little bit of a twinge or something like that, he might stop talking. Well, it's the same with the dogs, you know. No, you wouldn't, Brian. No, I know you'd fight your way through it.
Thanks for acknowledging that, Martin.
You're such a hero. But no, this is the kind of thing, and I found the electronic bark collar works extremely well when used correctly. And
now, that's the other thing I was going to... Martin, sorry to interrupt, because I know we've only got about 2 minutes left. How do people know which one to get? I know you have a website, so we're going to make sure that everybody gets to go to your website before the end of this segment. But do you recommend products like that, particular ones? Because we can't just say the names on the air. But I would actually like to know.
Yes, there are. I mean, there is one very, very good bark collar which is on my website because I only ever kind of sell and give away or with my clients have one product at the moment. And it's a very, very good one. And what is nice about it is, you see, a lot of people say, I have got to move out of my apartment because as soon as I leave, my dog starts barking. Now, if you put a bark collar on, it works when the dog barks. So the dog is setting it off himself. And therefore, he can learn to control that himself. The other thing which is nice is, with the collar that I particularly use, when you come back and you switch the collar off, take it off the dog and switch it off, it counts the number of times the dog's barked. So if he's only barked twice, it flashes twice, then you think, I've got it at the right level. If it flashes 40 times, you know he's barked too much and the neighbors are going to be in with you, and it's not at the right level. So there are good products out there. There are products which work extremely well, and that's not just the only one. There are others as well. But yes,
so
you can use.
What is your website, Martin, so that people can get to that?
About $80 to $90. $100 probably is the maximum.
Okay, and what's the website people can go to get that information? What's your website?
MartinDealey.com is my website has got those units on there. MartinDealey.com. But there are others available. Don't just go out and buy a cheapy one, because some of the cheapy ones don't work very well. They're not as reliable. And if you're going to use something of that nature on your dog, you want that to be an important factor.
Good message. So will I get a discount if I buy one for Brian?
If he keeps in quiet, I'd give you one.
Oh, that's right.
Martin, you and I were on the same wavelength, brother, because I thought, if it shuts me up, I promise you Martin will give it to you.
I'll give it to you. Listen, Martin, very valuable.
I would miss you, Brian. I would miss you a lot.
I would miss you, and I'm touched.
They all say that until you go, and then
I know.
Right.
Listen, Martin, as always, a fount of information, and look up that word inestimable, which is one of my favorite words, by the way, because I've used it enough. It should be. Martin, thank you so much. Don't forget, everybody, to go to www.martindeely, the D-E-E-L-E-Y, martindeely.com. Thank you very much. We will be right back after the next break, so do not go far away.
That it's right if my dog wants to sleep on the bed with me all night.